All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into the actual biological schematics of rapid cellular hydration. It's wild. We buy these commercial sports drinks packed with artificial dyes and chemical stabilizers, and half the time we still feel totally drained during a workout. Well, today we're completely bypassing that mass-produced junk. We're going to build a precise, highly calculated hydration matrix right in your own kitchen. And trust me, this blueprint vastly outperforms the commercial stuff because it actually exploits a very specific biological lock in your gut. So here's our roadmap. We'll start by unlocking rapid cellular hydration, then move step by step through our 4 core construction phases. Protocol Alpha is the base, Protocol Beta is the sodium matrix, Protocol Gamma is the carbohydrate catalyst, and Protocol Delta is the pH balance. Finally, we're going to totally dismantle the zero sugar trap. Okay, starting right off with Section 1, Unlocking Rapid Cellular Hydration, or the biological mechanics of water absorption.
Let me ask you something. Why is it that most modern, sugar-free sports drinks completely fail you right in the middle of heavy physical exertion? Seriously, have you ever chugged one of those zero-calorie electrolyte drinks during a brutal run or a heavy lift, and you just feel sloshy? Or worse, you cramp up anyway? Well, there's a very specific mechanical reason for that. And it all comes down to osmotic balance, specifically achieving what we call an isotonic state. Think of it like a biological Goldilocks zone. If you engineer a drink that's too concentrated, so hypertonic, it actually pulls water out of your cells and dumps it into your gut. That is exactly what triggers those horrible stomach cramps. On the flip side, if it's too dilute, or hypotonic, you're essentially just drinking plain water and totally failing to replace the critical electrolytes you're sweating out. So we absolutely have to engineer a perfectly isotonic solution.
Which brings us to Section 2, Protocol Alpha, the base. This is where we set our aqueous foundation.
Every good solvent matrix needs a foundation. Step 1 is simply measuring out 4 cups. That's roughly 1 liter of cold filtered water. But if you want a massive biological upgrade, do this. Swap exactly half of that water with 100% pure coconut water. It's an absolute game changer.
The reason this swap is so crucial is the dosage. By doing that 50-50 split, you're naturally injecting about 400 to 600 milligrams of trace potassium right into your mixture per serving. See, coconut water is naturally isotonic all on its own, so we get this huge head start on balancing our osmotic pressure without having to rely on any weird synthetic powders.
And getting that massive potassium payload is absolutely crucial if you're an athlete. Why? Because as you push your body, your glycogen stores drop. And when you're running on empty like that, your muscles become incredibly vulnerable to cramping. Potassium steps in as this physiological shield, actively preventing your muscles from locking up when you need them most.
All right, moving on to Section 3, Protocol Beta, the sodium matrix, or the cellular membrane gateway.
To get this right, you need to add exactly 1/4 teaspoon of fine sea salt or Himalayan pink salt to the mix. Now sure, regular table salt technically works, but you really want the unrefined salts here. They give you these great trace amounts of magnesium and calcium, which are super beneficial secondary electrolytes.
Listen to me on this one. Whatever you do, do not skip the salt. That 1/4 teaspoon gives you about 500 to 600 milligrams of sodium, hitting the ideal concentration perfectly. Sodium is literally a mechanical requirement for cellular hydration. Without it acting as a gateway, water just kind of bounces off your cellular membranes. It can't cross efficiently, so you just end up with a stomach full of useless fluid that goes nowhere.
Next up is Section 4, Protocol Gamma, the carbohydrate catalyst, which is all about activating SGLT1. Now, this is where a lot of fitness folks make a massive mistake. They try to skip this step. You absolutely must add 2 tablespoons of simple carbohydrates to your matrix. We're talking raw honey, maple syrup, or even just standard granulated sugar. Yep, I said sugar. Stick with me here.
We are not doing this for flavor. We're doing this to physically force water into your bloodstream. Deep inside your gut, there's this protein transport channel called SGLT1. And this channel is picky. It requires a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio of glucose to sodium to actually work. The glucose from that honey or sugar, it acts like a literal physical key. It unlocks the channel, grabs onto the sodium and the water, and drags them across your intestinal wall straight into your blood. Without that glucose key, you're stuck relying on passive osmosis, which is way, way too slow.
Okay, Section 5,
Protocol Delta, pH balance. This covers palatability and your thirst trigger.
So, we're going to add a quarter cup of fresh squeezed lemon or lime juice, usually about 1 or 2 lemons worth. This does a few amazing things. First off, the citric acid completely kills that heavy saltwater taste from Protocol Beta because, let's be real, nobody wants to chug warm ocean water while they're working out. Making it taste good actually triggers your biological thirst mechanism, subconsciously tricking your brain into drinking more when your body is desperate for it. Plus, you get a nice little bonus payload of vitamin C and even more trace potassium.
To put this all together, just dump your water, coconut water, salt, honey, and lemon into a glass vessel. Shake it violently until all the salt and carbs are totally dissolved. Then stick it in the fridge for an hour. Why chill it? Because cold fluids actually empty out of your stomach significantly faster than warm ones. It's just one final little biological hack to get that hydration hitting your bloodstream as fast as humanly possible.
When you step back and look at the whole blueprint laid out like this, you realize it's a finely tuned machine. We aren't just throwing stuff in a cup to make it taste nice. Every single ingredient, from the 50-50 water base right down to the lemon juice, has a hyper-specific dosage that drives a very specific biological function in your body.
Finally, Section 6, the Zero Sugar Trap, Myth versus Biological Reality.
We kind of have to talk about the elephant in the room here. Modern marketing pushes these zero-sugar sports drinks loaded with artificial sweeteners like stevia or erythritol, right? People just assume they're a healthier version of the same thing. But biologically, not even close. Artificial sweeteners do absolutely nothing to activate that SGLT1 transport protein we just talked about. So zero-sugar drinks are completely reliant on slow passive osmosis. Look, if you're just sitting at a desk all day, that's totally fine. But if you're a rapidly sweating athlete in the middle of a heavy physical event, relying on a zero-sugar drink is a catastrophic failure because it's going to hydrate you way too slowly.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought to completely reframe how you view human performance engineering. When you are pushing your body to its absolute limits in acute endurance scenarios, glucose is not a dietary enemy. It is a critical mechanical tool. If you truly want peak performance, you have to stop fearing the exact key that unlocks rapid cellular hydration. So, the question is, will you use this blueprint to finally hydrate properly during your next intense session, or are you going to stay stuck in the zero-sugar trap?